Ladies, let me begin by saying this. When you walk in your truth, when you embrace who you are unapologetically, there will always be those who try to diminish your light. And sometimes the harshest critics, the ones who seem to thrive on making you feel small, are the ones with a little more ego than empathy. These are the narcissists. They're masters at mockery, and they'll do whatever it takes to break you down. But today, I want to flip that narrative and show you the hidden strength in their words, the incredible power in their attempts to tear you down. When a narcissist mocks you, it's not a reflection of your worth, it's a reflection of their own insecurities. It's a mirror to their fear. The louder their mockery, the more terrified they are of your power. You see, women like you who are stepping into their greatness make people uncomfortable. And the narcissist can't handle that. Their need to control, to belittle, comes from a deep fear of losing their grasp on the narrative. So here's the first thing I want you to know. Mockery is a sign that you're on the right path. When they throw their insults your way, take a deep breath. Don't shrink. Don't apologize for taking up space. Stand taller, breathe deeper, and recognize that their mockery isn't about you at all. It's about them trying to distract you from the power you already have. They're intimidated by your strength, your self-worth, and your refusal to settle for anything less than the best version of yourself. Mockery is a sign of your progress. Let's pause for a moment and really reflect on this idea. When someone mocks you, it's not a reflection of your failure. It's a clear, loud, undeniable sign that you're doing something right. In fact, mockery is often one of the most powerful indicators that you're moving forward in your life. Why? Because when you start stepping into your power, when you begin to live authentically and unapologetically, it makes those around you, especially the narcissists, uncomfortable. It shakes up their expectations and forces them to confront the very things they may have been avoiding in themselves. And that discomfort often manifests as mockery. Think about it. You've decided to rise. You've chosen to stop dimming your light to make others feel more comfortable. You've decided to say no when it's necessary and yes to your own dreams. You've chosen to step into your worth, to embrace your strengths, and to set boundaries that honor your values. And here's the thing, that journey doesn't always align with the narratives that others, especially narcissists, want to maintain. When someone feels threatened by your rise, their only weapon is mockery. But here's the thing we need to get comfortable with. Mockery reveals their fear, not your inadequacy. When a narcissist mocks you, it's because they fear losing control over the story. They fear that if you show up as your full, authentic self, it will expose the cracks in their carefully curated image of perfection. It forces them to question their own choices, their own self-worth, and the very foundation they've built on their need to tear others down. So when their words sting, let that sting be a reminder that you're no longer playing small. I want you to understand that progress doesn't always feel like a straight line up. Sometimes progress looks like standing up in a room full of people who would rather see you fall. Sometimes it feels like walking through fire, knowing you're going to get burned, but still walking through it anyway, because you know on the other side is freedom. Progress looks like making those hard choices, setting those boundaries, and choosing to invest in yourself when others think you should be shrinking. And when those who mock you show up, when their harsh words land like daggers aimed at your spirit, remember this: they wouldn't bother if you weren't a threat. Mockery is the weapon of the insecure. The more they attack, the more they expose their own vulnerabilities. Their mockery is not a commentary on your worth. It's a desperate attempt to distract you from your own strength. So how do we respond to mockery when it shows up? We don't shrink, we don't hide. We don't apologize for taking up space. We stay grounded in our truth. The louder their mockery, the more it should signal to you that you're moving in the right direction. Mockery is an outward expression of their inner fear that you're not going to play by their rules anymore. They can't control you. They can't silence you. They can't diminish your brilliance. Remember, every time you choose to show up for yourself, when you refuse to shrink, when you refuse to stay silent, when you refuse to let their narrative dictate your value, that is progress. And if they mock you, it's only because they're afraid of what your success, your authenticity, and your growth mean for them. They don't want you to realize how powerful you truly are. They don't want you to see that your power is limitless, that your worth is unwavering, that your strength comes from your ability to embrace all of who you are. You see, when you make the decision to rise, to break free from the constraints others try to place on you, the mockery isn't about you. It's about them. And every time you hear it, take it as a sign that you are on the right track. It means you're stepping out of the shadows and into your own light. It means you're moving away from the limitations others have placed on you and into the vastness of your own potential. And that's something to celebrate. So let them mock. Let them criticize. Let them attempt to tear you down, and as you stand tall in the face of their words, let their mockery remind you of your progress. It's a sign that you're doing the work, that you're growing, and that your light is too bright for them to ignore. The more they mock, the more it reflects their fear, and the more you'll continue to rise. Your response determines your power. Let's take a moment to really sit with this idea: your response determines your power. This is something we don't always think about in the heat of the moment. When someone's words hit us like a slap to the face, or when a narcissist's mocking laughter reverberates in our minds. It's in those moments when our emotions are running high and we're triggered that we have the most opportunity to tap into our true strength. And yet, we often get that how we choose to respond is the key to our personal power. You see, we live in a world that loves to control the narrative. People around us, whether it's the narcissist who thrives on making us feel small, or society that constantly tells us who we should be, want to dictate how we feel, how we behave, and how we view ourselves. But here's the truth: no one can control your emotional response unless you let them. That power lies solely within you. In those moments when you feel attacked, when you feel like someone is trying to belittle you or make you feel less than, it's easy to feel like the world is closing in. It's easy to fall into the trap of defending yourself, explaining your worth, or even questioning yourself. But I want you to hear this clearly. You don't have to defend your worth to anyone. Your worth is not up for debate. The second we engage with mockery or disrespect, the moment we meet negativity with negativity, we're allowing that external force to dictate our inner peace. We're giving away our power. The truth is, every time someone tries to mock you, insult you, or belittle you, they're testing you. They're testing your strength, your boundaries, and your ability to stay grounded in who you are. And here's where the magic happens. The moment you choose not to respond from a place of anger or fear, you step into your power. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to defend your truth. When you hold steady in your own belief in who you are, when you choose not to let someone's mockery or criticism shake you, you reclaim the power that belongs to you. Now, let's be clear, this doesn't mean you have to suppress your feelings or pretend like it doesn't hurt. It's okay to feel hurt when someone mocks you. It's okay to feel anger or frustration. But what I'm asking you to do is to give yourself the gift of processing those feelings without letting them control you. When you respond from a place of emotional reactivity, when you let that hurt drive your actions, you allow the other person to pull you off center. But when you take a breath, when you pause and give yourself permission to feel without immediately reacting, you allow yourself the space to make a conscious choice in how to respond. The power lies in that pause. In that split second where you decide, I won't let their words define me. I won't let their disrespect dictate how I feel about myself. When you can do that, when you can hold on to your worth and your truth without needing validation from someone else, you are standing in your power. And in that moment, you've already won. You've taken back control of your own narrative, your own emotions, and your own self-esteem. And here's the beautiful thing about this process. Every time you choose to respond with grace, instead of reacting with defensiveness, every time you choose to be steady in the face of mockery, you are building mental and emotional muscle. You're strengthening your resilience. You're proving to yourself that you are not at the mercy of anyone's words, and that your worth doesn't waver based on external circumstances. That's power. You are not obligated to respond to anyone's negativity. Your power comes from recognizing that you don't need to engage in their drama. You don't need to play their game. The more you practice this choosing to respond from a place of calm, choosing to hold on to your dignity and your peace, the more you empower yourself to rise above the noise. You don't have to stoop to their level. You don't have to meet them where they are. You can walk away with your head held high, knowing that you've preserved your integrity and your inner strength. And let's talk about boundaries for a moment. One of the most powerful things you can do in the face of mockery or disrespect is to set a boundary. You don't owe anyone your energy, your time, or your emotional investment. If someone is mocking you, undermining you, or making you feel less than, it's okay to say, this is not acceptable, and walk away. Boundaries are not about shutting people out. They're about protecting your peace. When you protect your peace, you protect your power. The beauty of this is that you get to choose what you allow into your life. You get to decide who and what gets access to your emotional space. When you respond from a place of self-assurance, when you understand that your worth is not negotiable, you refuse to engage with anyone who doesn't respect that. You teach people how to treat you by the way you respond. If you respond with calm and confidence, if you respond by holding your ground and refusing to let them diminish you, you're teaching them that you are someone who cannot be shaken. So let me leave you with this. Your response is where your power lies. You are in control of how you react. You are in control of how you respond. And when you choose to respond from a place of self-respect, of calm, and of confidence, you are showing the world, and more importantly, You're showing yourself that no one can take away your power. That power is yours, always. Mockery comes from envy, not hatred. Let's take a moment to explore something that is often misunderstood. When someone mocks you, when they try to belittle you, or when they make you the target of their criticism, it's not actually about you. It's about them. It's about their own insecurities and their struggle to accept their own vulnerabilities. The truth is, mockery doesn't stem from hatred, it comes from envy. When a narcissist or anyone else mocks you, it's not because they hate you personally. It's because deep down they feel threatened by your strength, your authenticity, or ability to live out loud in a way that they are unable to. They are envious of your ability to stand in your power. They're envious of your confidence, your clarity, and your courage. They wish they could embrace who they are as fully as you do. And because they cannot, they attack. They try to cut you down because your growth and success remind them of what they have not yet been able to achieve for themselves. Now, this doesn't mean that mockery doesn't hurt. It does, it stings, it makes us feel small. But I want to offer a different lens through which to view those moments of mockery. When someone mocks you, it's a reflection of their envy of your potential, not a reflection of your worth. They are showing you how much they desire to possess what you have, the courage to be unapologetically yourself, the ability to stand tall in the face of adversity, the freedom to be authentic without constantly seeking approval. Think about it. Why would anyone try to tear down someone else who is simply being themselves, living their truth, and doing what brings them joy? It doesn't make sense unless you recognize that their behavior is less about you and more about their inner battle. They see you thriving, and that reminds them of the spaces in their own life where they feel stagnant, stuck, or unfulfilled. They may not even consciously recognize this, but it's what fuels their mocking behavior. This isn't to say that the mockery doesn't hurt or that you should dismiss it as insignificant. But I want you to understand that it's not a personal attack, it's a projection of their internal struggles. The more you thrive, the more you become a mirror to their own unmet desires, their own feelings of inadequacy. And instead of facing those uncomfortable truths within themselves, they lash out. They belittle you in the hope that it will somehow make them feel better about their own life choices. But here's the key, their mockery doesn't diminish your worth, it only reveals their own fears and unhealed wounds. There's also a painful truth that often accompanies this realization. The more you embody your true self, the more likely you are to trigger envy in others. It's not that they want to see you fail, it's that they want to experience the freedom you found. They wish they had the same confidence to be as unapologetically authentic as you are. Your confidence, your joy, and your sense of peace shine a light on the places where they haven't yet found those things in their own life. And rather than dealing with that discomfort, they turn it outward. They make you the target of their envy because they haven't yet learned how to nurture those same qualities within themselves. When you realize this, it shifts your perspective. Instead of internalizing their mockery as a measure of your inadequacy, you begin to see it as a reflection of their own internal conflict. Mockery is a cry for help. It's an indication of someone who hasn't yet done the work to heal their own wounds, someone who has yet to embrace the fullness of who they are. And when you see it this way, it becomes easier to detach from their words and their behavior. Because their mockery isn't about you, it's a reflection of the gap between who they are and who they wish they could be. This is why it's so important to remember that you are not responsible for their envy. You are not responsible for how they feel about themselves. You are not responsible for their unhealed wounds. What you are responsible for is how you respond to their mockery. And when you respond from a place of understanding that their words are fueled by envy, not hatred, gain a powerful sense of perspective. You no longer take their words personally. You no longer let their envy diminish your joy or your worth. And here's where it gets even more powerful. The more you continue to live authentically, to be true to yourself, and to shine in the face of their envy, the more you help break down the walls of their own insecurities. You are showing them what's possible. You are teaching them, whether they realize it or not, that it's okay to embrace who you are. You are modeling the very thing they are yearning for, but have not yet found in themselves, self-acceptance. When you refuse to shrink in the face of their mockery, when you continue to stand firm in your truth and let your light shine brightly, you are doing more than just protecting yourself. You are offering them a chance to see what it looks like to live authentically. And in that moment, you become a beacon of possibility, a reminder that healing, growth, and self-love are possible. You are showing them that envy can transform into admiration if they're willing to do the work. So when mockery arises, when the people around you try to tear you down, take a breath and remember this: their words aren't a reflection of your worth. They're a reflection of their own journey, their own struggles with self-acceptance. And instead of feeling diminished by their mockery, feel empowered by the knowledge that your authenticity is triggering something in them that they're still struggling to embrace within themselves. In that moment, you become the light that shows them the path forward. Transform mockery into fuel for growth. Let's sit with this idea for a moment. Mockery can be a powerful fuel for growth. I know it's not something that feels natural to say or think in the moment when someone's words hit you like a blade or when you feel the sting of being ridiculed. But if we dig deeper, we find that mockery, when we learn how to handle it, can actually propel us forward. It can become the very thing that ignites our inner strength and drives us toward becoming the best versions of ourselves. Think about this when you're walking your authentic path, when you're fully embracing who you are. You become a mirror for others, especially for those who are struggling with their own insecurities. And for some, that mirror is uncomfortable. It's easier for them to tear you down than it is for them to confront their own limitations, their own feelings of inadequacy. But what if we stop seeing mockery as a reflection of our flaws and start seeing it as a sign of how deeply we're challenging others to face their own? Mockery doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means you're doing something right. When you're on a path of growth, when you're daring to show up fully and unapologetically, it disrupts the status quo. It shakes things up in ways people aren't always prepared for. And sometimes the only way they know how to cope with that disruption is by mocking it, belittling it, trying to bring you back down to their level. But here's the powerful shift. Their mockery doesn't have to be a setback. It can be the very fuel you need to keep moving forward. Let's be clear, mockery is never about you. It's about their struggle. It's about their inability to cope with your light, with your growth, with your willingness to embrace who you truly are. So instead of seeing their words as a personal attack, start to view them as an invitation to go deeper, to strengthen your resolve and to fuel your own growth. Mockery becomes a catalyst when we use it to reflect on what it's teaching us about our own resilience. It's telling us that we are showing up in ways that are unsettling for others, and that's a good thing. When you begin to shift your perspective on mockery, it becomes less about defending yourself and more about using the experience to ask, how can I grow from this? What does this moment reveal about where I need to expand my emotional resilience? Every time someone mocks you, they're offering you an opportunity to dig deep, to look within, and to ask yourself, am I anchored in my truth? Am I staying grounded in my values? And here's the transformative power in that. Mockery can teach you where you still have room to grow. It shows you where your boundaries might still be soft, where you might still be seeking external validation, or where you're letting someone else's opinion shake your confidence. When you can sit with those moments without rushing to defend yourself or respond in kind, you give yourself the chance to ask the hard questions that lead to growth. Why does this hurt so much? What part of me still feels like I need their approval? Where am I still not fully owning my worth? That's the real magic in transforming mockery into fuel. It makes you more self-aware. It forces you to reflect on the ways you've given away your power, the ways you've allowed other people's judgments to influence your sense of self. But it also shows you how much power you have to shift that narrative, how much ability you have to choose your response and to show up even more fully in your own truth. When we react from a place of defensiveness, we're allowing someone else's opinion to shape our reality. But when we take mockery, when we absorb the sting of someone else's words and then choose to rise above it, we transform it. We make that moment our own by choosing to move forward with intention, to show up more deeply in our own lives and to become more resilient. Imagine this: every time someone mocks you, you take a moment to reflect on what part of you is still seeking external validation. You can ask yourself, what is this triggering in me? What is this teaching me about my own growth journey? By using mockery as a mirror, you begin to see the places where you're still growing, where you're still evolving, and where you're still being asked to step more fully into your own power. And here's the thing, as you learn to turn that mockery into motivation, it starts to lose its sting. It no longer has the same power over you because you've taken away its ability to dictate your worth. Now, this is not about pretending that mockery doesn't hurt. It does. It's about being real with yourself and acknowledging that it's okay to feel the sting. But then it's about shifting your focus away from defending yourself or reacting from a place of hurt and toward using that energy to fuel your growth. Every word, every mocking comment is an opportunity to deepen your relationship with yourself. It's a chance to ask, how can I use this moment to become more self-assured, more grounded, and more resilient? This is the most profound shift you can make in your journey. Instead of seeing mockery as something that diminishes you, you begin to see it as an opportunity for expansion. You begin to see that every time someone tries to tear you down, they're giving you the perfect opportunity to rise. You're not just surviving their mockery, you're growing through it, expanding beyond it, and allowing it to propel you to new heights. So when mockery comes your way, and it will use it as fuel, Use it to keep pushing forward, to keep embracing the person you are becoming, and to keep walking in your truth. Transform that pain into purpose, that sting into strength, and that mockery into momentum. Because the more you do, the more you'll realize that nothing, not mockery, not criticism, not anyone else's negativity can ever stop you from becoming the fullest, most powerful version of yourself. Only you define your worth. One of the most powerful truths you can ever embrace is this: only you have the right to define your worth. In a world that is constantly telling us who we should be, how we should look, what we should value, and what success should look like, it's easy to forget that our worth is not determined by anyone else's standards. It's defined by us and only us. We live in a culture that's constantly measuring us, judging us, and comparing us. From social media to advertising to even the subtle messages we receive in our personal lives, we're bombarded with ideas of who we should be and what we should aspire to. But the truth is, the only measurement that matters is the one you use to define yourself. No one else can determine your worth because they don't know your journey. They don't know the battles you fought, the growth you've experienced, or the dreams you carry in your heart. And when we start letting other people, whether consciously or unconsciously, set our worth, we lose ourselves in the process. This doesn't mean that we should ignore feedback or avoid constructive criticism. Growth and learning come from being open to others' perspectives. But the moment you allow someone else's voice to drown out your own understanding of your worth is the moment you give away your power. Only you get to decide what makes you valuable, what makes you worthy, and what makes you enough. So let's dig into this deeper. Why do we often give others the power to define us? Why do we look to others for validation or approval? It's human nature to want to belong, to feel seen, and to feel understood. But here's the key to reclaiming your power: belonging starts with you. True belonging isn't about fitting in or molding yourself to someone else's expectations. It's about knowing deep down that you are enough as you are. You are worthy not because of what you do or how you perform, but because of who you are. This is where the real work begins. Because embracing your worth means confronting the parts of yourself that you may not fully love yet. It means looking at the moments in your life where you felt less than, where you've doubted yourself, or where you've sought validation from others, and choosing to stand in your own truth anyway. It's easy to define ourselves based on external measures. It's easy to allow someone else's opinion to shape how we see ourselves. But real power comes when we start defining ourselves by our own terms. What would it look like if we stopped letting the world decide our worth? If we stopped measuring ourselves based on someone else's standards of beauty, success, or achievement? What if we were willing to get quiet enough with ourselves to ask the hard question: what do I truly believe about my worth? And not just in the easy moments, not just when things are going well, but in the moments of struggle, in the moments of doubt, in the moments where we feel small or unimportant. Because here's the thing: your worth doesn't fluctuate with the circumstances around you. It's not based on how much you've accomplished, how many people like you, or how much money is in your bank account. Your worth is anchored in something far deeper. It's anchored in the knowledge that you are enough, just as you are right now in this moment. When we choose to define our worth by external measures, we set ourselves up for a lifetime of comparison and inadequacy. There will always be someone who seems smarter, richer, or more successful. But when we choose to define our worth from within by our own values, by our own strengths, by our own sense of what is meaningful, we free ourselves from the need for validation from others. This doesn't mean that we live in isolation or reject connection with others. It means that we stop seeking permission to be worthy. We stop needing to be told that we're enough because we already know it. We begin to look at ourselves with the same compassion, respect, and love that we offer to others. We stop measuring ourselves against other people's timelines, milestones, or expectations. We start to understand that our worth isn't dependent on what we've done, who we know, or what we look like. It's inherent in who we are, in our humanity, in the simple fact that we exist. And as we embrace this truth, something incredible begins to happen. We start to operate from a place of deep inner confidence. We stop second-guessing ourselves. We stop looking outside for the affirmation we crave, and we start living life on our own terms. We show up more authentically. We speak our truth more freely, and we allow ourselves to take up space in the world without apology. We begin to move in the world with a quiet, unshakable sense of worth that no one can take away. This is a lifelong journey, though. Reclaiming your worth is not a one-time decision. It's a practice. It's a commitment to consistently return to the truth that only you get to define your worth, no one else. There will be moments when the world tries to tell you that you're not enough. There will be moments when you doubt yourself, when the weight of comparison or judgment feels heavy. But in those moments, remember that your worth is not for sale, and no one else has the power to diminish it. So I encourage you to ask yourself today, what are the voices I'm allowing to define my worth? And more importantly, what would it look like if I decided right now to define my worth for myself? Because when you choose to own your worth, you step into your own power. You become unstoppable. And that's the kind of power that no one can ever take away from you. It's the kind of power that is rooted in the deepest truth of who you are. You are worthy just as you are right now. The journey to recognizing your worth and power is deeply personal and profoundly transformative. Throughout every challenge, mockery, and judgment you face, remember that your strength lies in how you respond, not to the voices around you, but to the one inside you. The mockery of others, often rooted in their insecurities or envy, only reveals your progress and the power you hold to continue growing. You are the one who defines your worth, not anyone else. And when you fully embrace this truth, you unlock an inner resilience that nothing can shake. In the end, you have the power to transform any challenge, any judgment, and any mockery into fuel for growth. Each setback, every attempt to bring you down, is simply an opportunity for you to rise even stronger, more grounded in your own truth. You don't need external validation to know your worth because it is inherent and unshakable. So embrace your power, stay anchored in your truth, and walk forward with the confidence that only you can define who you are and the incredible strength you carry within. The world may try to shake you, but in the end, it is you who holds the key to your own journey, your own growth, and your own worth. You are enough always.